This is the Grow My Clinic podcast by Cliniq Mastery, where we help you deliver amazing client experiences to grow your clinic. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Grow My Clinic podcast. My name is Jack O'Brien, and today we have an action-packed episode for you. So we're going to dive straight in. We have a guest with us, the founder and owner of Cliniq Apps. We have Hootan Mohseni with us. Hootan, how are you this morning?
Good, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, mate. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. So for those who aren't familiar with Hootan, his name is becoming somewhat famous or infamous in the allied health space at the moment for good reason. He's stirring things up in a way that really helps improve client experiences. So Cliniq Apps is the software, is the business that Hootan owns and runs, which helps clinic owners create a better client experience for their patients. But Hootan, today we want to delve a little bit more into your personal story, how you got to where you are here, what inspired you to start Cliniq Apps, all of those sorts of things. So firstly, mate, the most important question, do you have any kids?
Yes, I do. I have two kids. One of them is my daughter, 4 years old, and a son, 2 years old. I would call them little monsters rather than kids.
Yes, 4 years old and 2 years old, and you're starting the business in the midst of having toddlers. Some people would say you're insane, but I would join you. Actually, I have at the time of this recording a 3-year-old. So, look, the way I look at it, if we're going to be sleepless with kids, we might as well be sleepless with a business as well, right?
Exactly. That's well. I wouldn't make this decision again if someone told me, okay, after having like a 6-month-old kid, do you want to start another business? I would say probably not, but well, I did it, but it was really difficult. A lot of sleepless nights.
I can imagine. And so can you give us a little bit of your backstory? What did you study, and what's been your experience prior to Cliniq Mastery, to Cliniq Apps? Sorry, we're going to get confused with these names. Your experience and study prior to Cliniq Apps.
Yeah, so I studied vet as my first part of adulthood. I started being a vet, and during doing the vet, I started a print company back then. So what I was a student, and I had that print company. It was a print company printing variable data into cards like credit cards and lottery cards and phone cards and those kind of things. So that's how the journey of starting your own company started. During that time, well, I did another one. I sold that company when I was 25. I started that when I was 19. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of things happened that I had to immigrate out of Iran. And I came over here to Australia, did MBA at Melbourne Business School, specifically on data analytics marketing. And after that, I joined Ernst Young for 3 years. I was there as a strategy consultant, specialized in supply chain and data analytics. And then started a very large, very, very large company-ish, I don't know how to say that, a part of Monash University who wanted to go into kids education. And we delivered a very large platform with more than 100 applications for kids there. But during the time that I was in Ernst Young, it was a little bit, so Ernst Young was not consuming all of my time. I didn't have kids back then. So as a hobby, I was doing mobile apps for veterinarians.
Okay.
Because I could understand that industry very well, and I was in touch with those vets a lot and what they need and all those kind of things. And one of the things that they used to tell me was that we need to have something to do our recalls, to talk with our patients and all those kind of things. And I didn't have time, and sure. I was in Ernst Young. And after that, I went to Monash University with that project. So it didn't happen until just like 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, that project with Monash University finished. So I made a decision to build up on that. Then I went back and did some market research, and I realized actually vet industry is not very good industry to go into. They are very good, but the issue was that the practice management software there was very fragmented. So if we wanted to capture all the industry, we needed to integrate with more than 15 practice management software.
Sure.
And
Okay.
basically impossible to do that in a short time. Then we did a lot of different industries, dentists, and then we figured out Cliniq is a very good thing because they have a very, very good software. They had very good APIs. I had a chat with Joel, CEO of Cliniq, and everything sounded very nice for that. And then that was the reason that we started this in allied health.
Right, and here we are today. Right, well, that's a fascinating story, and I've got a bunch of different questions that we can go down the rabbit hole here. I think people want to know about the story of Cliniq Apps and about you personally. I find it interesting that you studied veterinarian and yet had a printing business at the age of 19, 20. What was that like, starting a business back in Iran? Was it always something that you wanted to do, be a business owner?
Not really. It was not the intention at all. So I needed to make money. Well, I come from like a middle class family. My dad was an engineer, and it was not that it was desperate need of money. It was that personal pride that I can make my own money.
Right.
And it was not that I could not go somewhere and ask people to recruit me as a vet student to go and work somewhere. The trigger point there was that, well, okay, I started, we are talking a long time ago. It was
you don't need to give away any ages. You don't need to incriminate yourself.
1998 or 2000 or something like that. And like having email back then was really cool. So and Yahoo was providing free emails then.
Right.
So first thing was that I created an ad in newspaper that we will give you emails for $5. And many people started calling me asking for having an email, and I was just creating a free one in Yahoo for them and just giving them and charging them somewhere around $5.
Sure.
And it all started from there. Then I went so that introduced me to internet service providers. And when I started working with internet service providers, I felt that they are, so back then, they were providing contracts with their clients. And in Iran, people could not. So first thing, there was a lot of friction there. So if you wanted to get contract, you had to go and do that. And then also, so accessibility was lower. And also many people didn't have money to like buy a monthly contract. And I had read an article about Coca-Cola that when they put Coca-Cola into a bottle and sent it to all the retail, suddenly the company started. So I told them, let's put internet on back of a card and send it to retail. So they could sell like 2 hours of internet, 5 hours of internet. And I'm talking about the day that it was dial-up and that was coming. Yeah. So they started doing that, and I started printing those. And because it needed a lot of technology to do that, plastic printing and dynamic printing and all those kind of things. So I did some stuff inside my house first to do that. And then gradually I started buying some machineries and stuff. So when I sold that company, we had more than 75% of the market share of the region, and I had massive print. Yeah, we were printing millions and millions of cards. But it started like that. It started like just an idea.
Just an idea and an opportunity. And I think a lot of health business owners would probably resonate with that. They've got a skill, but they've found a market where there's a need or an opportunity to service people and to help provide a solution to people, and off you go. That's remarkable. And it seems like it's just in your DNA from a 19, 20-year-old starting businesses and selling millions of cards. It's crazy. So if we fast forward, then you end up in Australia doing your MBA and at Ernst Young. If you were to summarize your time at Ernst Young, what were the top two things that you learnt or have shaped you now after Ernst Young?
Oh, Ernst Young was fantastic. So one of the most important things was that that gave me the opportunity to go and see so many businesses here in Australia. So I probably went to every building in Melbourne and Perth and some in Sydney, because we were getting consultancy projects here and there, and we were just going into these different buildings and seeing, for example, how BH Williton is doing its management and what are the issues over there. How's Telstra working? How's Kraft working? How's Rio Tinto working? How's government? I did works with different governmental agencies. It was that part of it, just giving me that exposure to see all these different things with a background of MBA, to know all of that theoretically, and then going there and seeing okay, this is a theory, but this is how it is actually being done, and what are the issues over there. That was fantastic thing. That part of it.
So you got exposure across all different industries, business sizes. Yeah, right.
Exactly. And that was really cool. And another thing was that, inside EY, there are many smart people, and a lot of politics and stuff were happening over there, from finding a client until how you're managing internally. So that was also a very interesting part. And of course, since I was a little kid, I loved math and analytics and all that. And I used to code when I was very, very little. So in there, I had the opportunity to play with a lot of data, and creating different things with data and finding solutions with data. So that was also fantastic.
Okay, so you get this exposure to big business data coupled with a hobby in coding, and what then progressed into mobile apps on the side. So you kind of got mobile apps, this interest in data and maths. And so I guess the Cliniq Apps is really the evolution of that birth, isn't it, really?
Exactly. Okay. You can clearly see that. Yeah.
And so as you do your research, you find that the health industry, and specifically Cliniq Apps, which is now expanded to include Nucleus and Core Plus and soon to be others, you're able to serve the users of those allied health tools using data and client communications and experiences. How would you sum up Cliniq Apps in a sentence?
Clinic automation. That's really where I wanted to go to.
Yep.
Not only data and all that, not only patient communications, but also internal communications. So that's where I see it happening, to basically free professionals to do what they are best at and don't worry about all the admin tasks that need to happen with them.
I love that. And I think I'm an avid user of Cliniq Apps. I think I was one of the first users. I'm going to claim that I was the first user. Maybe I wasn't quite. But I know that exactly what you said is what it does. It automates patient communication, and it provides dashboarding data so that, one, I don't need to worry about a lot of those admin things. And two, it gives me useful information to be able to make business decisions with off the back of. It's fantastic. And just quickly, if you were to touch on the evolution of Cliniq Apps since it was its first inception, maybe 18 months ago to now, how has that roller coaster been for you personally?
Oh, it was such a roller coaster. So I started perfecting the mobile app to go to the market with it. It got to a stage that I felt, okay, it is good enough, as you are probably familiar with the term MVP, the minimum viable product.
Yes.
So I tried to use the mobile app as a minimum viable product to go into the market. So I created that, and it was all based on the assumption that I had maybe 3-4 years ago, before that, that mobile app would be cool. But the reality was that back then the mobile app was a sexy thing to have, and phones were just out of iPhone was sexy. But like 2 years ago, it was no longer sexy. It was just something that everyone had. So it was not a very good entry to market.
Right.
So I talked with some friends. I have some dentist friends, and they were telling me that, yeah, mobile app is cool, but it's not really something that is going to change. So I worked more on, okay, what are the other things that can be automated? And I started talking with many admin staff of different industries. And that was the point that I realized, actually the first thing that came to mind was recalls are
Sure.
the thing that needs to be automated, that people are really having trouble with recalls. And then I started creating that, and then I realized that I don't know enough about in this industry.
Sure.
And the product that I need to create needs to be flexible enough so that if something I haven't foreseen can be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started creating a product that is flexible enough to do different things with it. And then created that as the minimum viable product, tested it with these dentists, and I realized that they're doing different things with it that I couldn't foresee.
Sure.
Until it shaped the very first part. And then that made the core of Cliniq Apps. And then you and some other very, very helpful friends that I cannot thank you enough for doing that, started using it as real in your clinic, which was really, really helpful. And then based on that feedback, it just got evolved, and we are constantly working to make it better. But this is the product part. But personal part, it was very tough. So I got to, you said talk about personal things. Sorry, it will go very personal.
Sure.
So I was running out of money, and this was costing me a lot of money to build.
I can imagine.
And it was, so I was thinking it would be launched 3 months before it was launched. Mm-hmm. And I was really struggling to get more money and find some more money, and I was doing some projects on the side just to fund the money.
Right.
And I was thinking maybe 2 weeks from now this will go live. That suddenly my dad passed away.
Oh no.
And I had to travel, and it was emotionally so difficult for me. And I had back then, like a 9-10 month old baby, or 2-something old baby. And emotionally, I was going through such a crazy thing. And yeah, it was really, really difficult. And just to do this, I had to leave my wife and family there and just come back here. I was alone, and it was winter, and it was difficult. And I had to just work just to make this happen, because I had bet my life on it to go and become successful, and I couldn't really waste more time there. So I came back, and I 2 weeks later we launched these. And since launch, again, it hasn't been easy. We had a lot of issues in the product. We couldn't foresee many different things. Like when Cliniq announced that we exist, there was a time that every minute we were getting 3 to 4 signups.
Wow. That's out of control.
And yeah, it was good. It was thrilling, but the amount of data that was pouring into our system was, we couldn't foresee that happening. So that started creating some CPU utilization issues and storage issues, and dealing with all of that while we are live and with hot data. Mm-hmm. It was really difficult. And there was a Saturday morning that I woke up, and I saw in my Slack, in Facebook, in my email, people are saying, "Oh, something is going wrong. My patients are getting this." I was just shocked. I didn't really know what to do. It was one of the worst moments of my entire life. I felt Cliniq Apps is gone. It was really good that we hadn't sent it, so our securities and checks and balances was there, that we are not sending anyone anything wrong, or we are not sending a message that this patient should get to someone else. That would have been a real disaster. This was just a lot of same message went to same
Of course.
And I don't know what to say. It was really difficult, but
I can
I'm
imagine.
so happy that people understood it. Like, number of people who canceled their account based on that were less than 10.
Yeah.
People just felt, okay, it's
an honest mistake. And if I recall correctly, it was probably something that you couldn't have foreseen and mostly out of your control anyway. So
that's right.
I think that out of those couple of stories, the things that really stand out to me is, one, when your back's against the wall and cash is running out and you've got to get to market or you've got deadlines to meet, which a lot of the listeners will have been in a similar position. That's what really tests your commitment to what you're doing, right? It's
right.
This is the critical moment. Am I in or am I out? And you've proven that. And I think the other lesson that I think is really important, way back at the start, where you said it's a dynamic product. You're learning. You're not a health professional yourself, but you're willing to incorporate your experiences into a product that is constantly evolving, that is constantly listening to its users and quickly implementing the requests and demands of users. And I think
exactly.
your sowing of that approach and that attitude has meant that when problems occur, because the truth is they do occur, we can't control problems when they come, you've built a client base of clinic owners that are happy to help you, happy to serve you, happy to acknowledge and move on from any mishaps because of the transparency that you've been able to build. And I think that's a real key for listeners, is that if you can be honest and transparent with your clients and flexible and create a service that meets their needs, when something goes wrong or when something happens, you'll have clientele that care enough about you to be your advocates in those situations. And essentially, I think that's what you've built is a database now of clients that are real advocates for your product. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. And good people, that's what I can say, like good people. Like, well, you can never be your client, like in any situation, like even a healthcare professional cannot be someone who has back pain and neck pain and knee pain and all that. Like, you are always apart from your client. Right. Having a genuine understanding of their needs and putting yourself in their shoes and understanding, okay, because this is the ultimate goal. You are helping someone else to achieve their goals, and because of that, you will achieve your goals. And with that thinking, you will be able to always not only just theoretically do that, like seriously, genuinely feel that and genuinely do that. Then I think that would happen. And I'm so grateful for all of those beautiful people who have helped me along this journey.
Mate, I love it. And I think you are such a values-driven guy, and your whole organization is really based out of those principles and values that I can certainly pick it up in your voice. And it's why we love working with you as my clinic does, Cliniq Mastery. We love partnering with you. And in some ways, and I'm sure some listeners would agree, that you're becoming somewhat of a cult hero in our industry because of the values that you live out. We love it. We love who you are and what you've built with Cliniq Apps and the way that it's being able to transform the allied health industry. Now, that's some fascinating stories. And listeners, in future episodes, we're going to be digging into analytics and data and how email works and the different ways you can keep in touch with your clients. We might get into the meat of Cliniq Apps in another episode. Hootan, are you up for that?
Yeah, sure thing. Sure.
Great. All right, well, listeners, that wraps up this particular episode. Make sure you check out the future episodes with Hootan from Cliniq Apps. You can catch all the show notes at cliniqmastery.com/podcast and find the episode with Hootan. And if you'd like to take your clinic to the next level, you can check out our free Grow My Clinic course. That's over on our website as well. You'll find it on the podcast page. Thank you for listening in. We really do appreciate your honest reviews and ratings on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever else you listen to this podcast. And we look forward to coming to you with another episode really soon.
This is the Grow My Clinic podcast by Cliniq Mastery, where we help you deliver amazing client experiences to grow your clinic.